Hello everybody, welcome back to Helvetia Bushcraft, and I hope you're all having a great day. Listen, today we're going to talk about primarily some tools that we use in bushcraft. And normally there's a list of about 5 tools. When I learned bushcraft, 5 primary tools I can take out with me and that I can use in the wild. Listen, the first thing I'm going to tell you is this right here. When you're studying bushcraft, you're learning bushcraft, and you're getting into bushcraft, it's good to start off with these kind of things. It also comes to a point to where you have your tools tuned in exactly what you need, and you're happy with it. There also comes to a level where you think, you know what, I like to learn a little bit more about bushcraft, and you get into more of the primitive side. And this is not the primitive side, okay? Anybody who starts off carrying a knife with them, they're already, that they have it made out of stone or something like that, they're not in the primitive side already. So that's another level of bushcraft that we're not going to discuss today. We're going to discuss basically getting started, getting going, and what you like and what you should use, what you should think about, okay? And then why. Why I'm going to present these tools to you, because these are tools, okay? And I'm going to present them to you as why I carry them and a little bit of pro and negative, this kind of stuff. Okay, so first thing we're going to talk about, and these are 5 tools that we're going to talk about, is we're going to talk about a good fixed blade knife. Now here I've got 7 fixed blade knives laid out for you, and from everything from less expensive up to much more expensive knives actually. And for example, a knife that's not very expensive is the Mora. And the Mora actually knives are a really good line of knives actually, and these are not full tang. It's a 3/4 tang or even less, but these right here are pretty good little knives right here, and they're really good. They're not very thick blade. The construction is very primitive actually when it comes to the construction, but they're very good knives and they work very well. And for someone starting on bushcraft, I suggest getting into this. Now, of course, you have your other knives, like this right here. This right here is it's a handmade knife. It's been forged, okay, and this is a little bit more expensive. These right here are typical Scandinavian knives, and there's a huge industry for Scandinavian knives out of Finland, Norway, Sweden, Estonia, Denmark, all these countries in the Scandinavian area. They over the winter time, you have these farmers and home people living out in the middle of nowhere, or even in the cities, whatever, and they have a little cottage production where they're making knives over the winter, and these are some of those knives right here. Now you also do have knives that that are made in factories over there, and but these are and are not those kind of knives. I have another one out here, which is also, it's a finished knife. This is more of a touristic type knife. These are all Scandinavian grinds, by the way, and this is not a full tang either. It's got a wooden handle on it. It comes probably to a small screw, which is poked in there, and the end of it screwed in, and then they cap it, the end of it right here. But these are nice little knives. They're good knives to start off with. And once you move up, the thing about when it comes to knives is that you need to have a fixed blade knife so you don't hurt yourself while you're using it, or you don't break it, or this kind of stuff. It's a little bit more solid. Now that's why I suggest a full tang knife also. But anyway, so then we get into a little bit more better construction knives, and here's also a Mora knife right here, and this right here is a full tang knife right here. It's called the Galberg, actually. Thank you. I have my off-camera team here. It's a huge team. It's Yanis. No, Johan. Johan, my off-camera team here, actually. Who has all the memory. I don't have the memory. So anyway, but it's a very good knife, and this is a very good typical Mora knife that I would say that you could use forever. I mean, this is a really good knife, and the sheath is not bad. It's a really good sheath system, and you can get it down to where it's, you buy the whole knife, but it breaks down to where you have just the knife and the sheath, and you're good to go actually. After that, we get into more of the high-end stuff, and you're looking at this right here's a Bark River right here. It's a full tang knife, and with a McCartan handle. Very, very good knife right here. It's Scandinavian grind also, and I suggest the drop point Scandinavian grind in all the knives actually. Very good knife right here also. And then you have this right here is a Ray Mears Andy Woods knife. Same thing, those of you who know these knives, and then you get into the Falkneven, which is a very high-end. This is not a full tang knife, but it is a very, very good knife. It's probably, from my point of view, it's probably one of the best knives that are out there, is this knife right here. But anyway, you want to get yourself a good fixed blade knife. So that's the very beginning of it. You know, get yourself a fixed blade knife, and then with that fixed blade knife, it's going to be some other things. That's like, you know, being able to sharpen that knife. And here we have a few diamond and ceramic sharpeners. These are all made by Falkneven, and this is the DC3 to DC4. You know, you shouldn't have a tool if you don't know how to repair it and keep it sharp and keep it where it's going. So learning how to sharpen is just as important as carrying that knife. And like I've said in previous videos, a dull knife is basically just a stick. So you don't want to just carry a stick around with you. But anyway, so starting off with, we're talking about fixed blade knives and how to support them. You know, keep them clean and all this kind of stuff. But these are your tools right here. Now, I've done video already previously about the different metals that are used, different steels that are used, and what the preferences are and why, this kind of stuff. And I tend to go for less of a stainless steel and more for a high carbon knife. And if you live in a very humid area, the stainless steel is a little bit better. But if you live in a less humid area, of course, the high carbon is better. But I prefer the high carbon myself, even though I'm in a humid area here in Switzerland. And I keep it clean. I keep it clean. I service it. I watch over my knife, and I don't just let it rust. And when I use it, I clean it. So fixed blade knife is the first tool. And with the fixed blade knife, you can do a lot. You can split wood, you can cut, you can make things. And there's also, it's important to know how to use it correctly so you don't hurt yourself or someone else around you. So that's something else you got to pay attention to with any knife or any tool. But so you start off with a fixed blade knife, and with that, you can do a lot with it. If you go into the woods with just a good knife, a fixed blade knife, you can do everything. There's not much you couldn't do. Sure, it's going to take you longer. It's going to be a lot more work to it, but you can do anything and everything, okay? So, and you can split logs open and this kind of stuff. The next tool I would recommend, and a lot of people want to go another direction. Me, I want to go into a different direction, and that is be saws, or cutting tools that are saws. And of course, you have lots of possibilities. This right here is a small saw that you'd buy in a hardware store or in an outdoor store. That's you know, like a Hornbach or an Obi or a Home Depot or something like that. You can find these kind of saws, and they do really good. These are gardening saws, and they do really well when it comes to. Now, he has a very short blade. That's one of the problems. This blade right here is probably about a 6-inch blade. It's a little bit too short to really work with. Now, there's also saws. I mean, you have small saws on other tools also, like on your Swiss Army knives, and kinds like that. They work, but it's not ideal for really working with, especially for big projects. You want to cut down. You want to build something. You want to cut something down. You know, some hefty sized limbs. You want to really cut up logs to make firewood or to build stuff with. You need something a little bit bigger than this Boca saw. I mean, I've been using this Boca saw for 15 years, if not longer, 17 years. And I've changed the blade once. It's a really good saw, but you know what? That's 8 inches right there. Or I don't know how many inches that is, 8 inches. It's just not enough, I found out. I've really recently, I've realized it for a while, but only recently have I done something about it. By purchasing something else, you know. But we'll get to that in a second. Another good saw is these Opinels right here. They make really good saws right here, and they work very well. They're about the same as your Boca when it comes to size. They're lighter, actually. They're lighter than a Boca is, and they're really good saws also, you know. But like I said, it's got its limits because it's. I mean, you can use it to saw stuff up, big logs, this kind of stuff. But we're talking about time. It's going to take a lot more time. That's where we get into something like an Agawa. An Agawa exactly is a more of a buck saw or bucking wood. This is the 20. This is the 24, the Borel 24. I just got this right here, and I have another one which is another buck saw, which is made out of wood, which I like. It's just bigger, and it is much more difficult when it comes to using, actually, because takes more time to put it together, to get it together, and then but this right here is really a very quick saw to get together. You know, it's very quick. That's one thing I like about it. It's just how quick it is And then I have a sheath here I can carry it inside of on my back, just kind of like that. And it works very well with that. But this you can just stick it inside your backpack or the outside of your pack, and you got a nice lightweight buck saw with you. And the advantage I hear is that it's much better to use, much easier using when it comes to sawing up logs and this kind of stuff. So that's the big advantage with it. And that's one that comes in handy. Look, when you're out there trying to put yourself together, some kind of structure, or you're bucking logs all day because you're trying to get some firewood going, this kind of stuff like that, it can get tiring very quickly, especially for one person. So it's good to have yourself a good bucking saw. So these are good for small projects, small things, you know. If weight's very much important, you know, sure, there's a difference in weight. This right here is heavier, but when it comes to doing the job, that buck saw is a much better saw, actually. So the reason why I teamed together the first two items is a good fixed blade knife and a saw is because with those two things, you can do a lot, okay? It may take you longer with a smaller one, but you can do a lot with it. Now, it may take you a little bit more work when it comes to splitting wood, but you can still do it. You just put your knife over your piece of wood, and you hammer it with another piece of wood, and you can basically split wood open with it with your fixed blade saw. And because of the fixed blade fixed blade knife, because of the fixed blade knife, and it's a full tang, you're less likely to break it, especially if you be careful when you're using it. But it's made for that punishment a little bit, you know, to work with it, you know. And so I can recommend these two as your primary two tools that you should put together, pair up, you know. After these though, then we run into the hand axes, okay? And look, you have long axes, you have felling axes, this kind of stuff, double bit axes kind of stuff, but I use primarily this size axes. Now, if I'm gonna be in a camp area and weight is less of a problem carrying around, I will bring my longer forester axe right here. This right here is a Granford Brooks, and this is what I use. I use Granford Brooks. Now, there are lots of axes out there. I just got off with these right here, you know, in the beginning. I tried out Roselli's and this kind of stuff. I just didn't like them that much. And this right here, I do like it. It's got a really good weight on the front of it. So when I'm using it, it's going to do the work that I need it to do. It's a little bit, like I said, a longer piece, so it's much easier to use when you're splitting wood, this kind of stuff. Now, I have also a shorter one, a medium length one here I also have. And this one I've had the longest, actually. This is the one I've used the most. I seem to carry it the most with me. It's been beat up the most. You know, I've had to actually change out the protection for the sheath already, and it's already lost the rivet here, I just noticed now. But it's been around the longest, actually, and it's been chewed up by my old dog Tex, who sadly is no longer with us. But you know what? I went in, I sanded it down, and I got some linseed oil, and I just, you know, I got it backed up to par again. So this is a really good lightweight axe. This is the one I primarily carry with me on camp outs and stuff like this. This is my primary axe I carry with me. I got some protection over it to protect it from being beat up a little bit on the handle tiers too. So, and then the last one is if you really weight is a big issue with you, and this little small bell type axe. Now, a lot of people carry even smaller. I don't suggest that. One thing I do like about it is that if it came to where I really needed a lot more to it, I could easily take this handle off, just take it off and put a longer handle on it. But it's a pretty lightweight head anyway, so it's not necessary. But this is also a little forester axe and another Granford Brooks also. So, and I do prefer to have an axe with a wooden handle on it because you can replace it. These plastic or fiberglass ones, they break, you're sort of screwed. You can't really, you know, do much about it afterwards. But these right here, you can actually replace the handles on it. Now, an axe is in third place because you already have the cutting tool and you have a sawing tool. This is just an extra tool which makes your life a lot more easier, actually, an axe. And yeah, but it's part of that five items that I suggest. So you have your recap real quick. We have a fixed blade saw. We have a fixed blade knife. We have a hand saw or buck saw, and we have forest axes. Now, let's go on to the fourth item. Now, the fourth items are actually an owl. And what this is a pointed item. Like I said, this is for leather. Now, you have bigger ones, and I suggest bigger ones, and they're used for making holes in leather or in bark or whatever. So if you want to sew something up or you need to repair your bag or something like that, just you can use it to make a hole in it so you can feed the thread through whatever. And with this one here, I actually have a cork on the end of it to protect it. And I actually have I have some wax thread that I carry with it also. And this makes for a really good working. So an owl is the fourth one. And it's very important if you want to do some extra work or you have some emergency work. This right here, you can do it. Now, I also have an owl on my Swiss Army knife I have here. And it's a really good one for sewing up things with. The only problem with it is it doesn't lock in place. So it's a little bit of a pain in the butt sometimes when you're using it. And it's hard. It's harder opening it than it is to close it, you know. So, what's a hard time? Anyway, this is it right here. And actually, you have the point right here. It's very sharp. There's a sharp edge on it. And you have an eye on it right here. So you can slide the thread through when you're doing any kind of sewing, this kind of stuff. So it's a really good, you just got to be careful with it because you grab the wrong end of it and try to close it, you can cut your thumb up. But it's almost Swiss Army knife. Now, I still carry this, I'll still choose the Swiss Army knife over the owl right here when I go out to the woods, just for the fact that I've got even more tools on this Swiss Army knife right here that I can use. And if I'm doing small stuff, I mean, look, what's the primary thing on a Swiss Army knife? It's not the rest of the blades, it's actually the wine opener. So you got your priorities here. Anyway, and on my Leatherman tool, I also have an owl on it and other items also, which is pretty good. I used to have this thought in my brain where why are you carrying a Leatherman tool in the woods with you, because there's nothing out there that you need to screw up or whatever, you know. And in reality, that's just false. I was wrong for a long time about that, because if you need to repair any of your kit, it comes in handy. So anyway, so another recap: good fixed blade knife, a good handsaw, a good hand axe, and an owl. Okay, AWL, for example, those of you don't know. And the last item on it is a good curved knife. Now this right here is not a complete curved knife. There exists more loop knives, and I actually would suggest the one that forms a complete loop. And you can make these yourself. You can get a Mora, and you can, and I think this might even be, this is Roselli, I think. But you can get a Mora, and you can actually heat it up and curve the blade. But what I like about this right here, and this is a right-handed one, is that when you're working, when you're making a bowl or spoon that you may need, or some kind of tool, something you might need, a utensil, whatever in the field, you can use this right here to help give it that rounded part, and that's very important. And you can't really do that with your fixed blade knives and other stuff. You really need something to go with that. And another thing to carry with you with this right here is a good piece of some fine and coarse sandpaper, because that allows you to sand up afterwards, and you know, when you're after you've made your bowl or your spoon, this kind of stuff. But anyway, so these are the items so that I would suggest and that I think are really good tools to bring you to the field. Okay, so now we're down to basically the 5 tools that we're going to take out here with us. Okay, we're going to take a good fixed blade knife with us, a good handsaw. That can be a small handsaw like this here, or you can carry a buck saw with you. Okay, so you can choose which one you want. Okay, but I'm going to leave the handsaw in there. All right, and then after that, a small hand axe. Okay, then your owl, and then of course a curved knife, and then I throw in a 6 tool, which I can take this out or not, and that is my Swiss Army knife. Now look, with these items here, you should be able to do anything and everything you want to do when you go into the forest, when it comes to building shelter, making fire, when it comes to making other projects like making bowls and spoons, this kind of stuff like that. The stuff that a lot of bushcrafters do, you know, a lot of stuff that you get out there and do and you practice, okay? So this is what you need, okay? Now, the quality of these items out here are going to determine your budget and what you like and what you feel you do and how much you get out there anyway. I've had all these items for many, many years. They've all worked very well for me. I recommend them. I'm sure there are other bushcrafters out there who may recommend something different. I'm completely open to anything and everything. I'm always looking out for something that could replace something or could be a little better. That's why I've recently replaced my handsaw right here, which I may still carry with me, it depends, but I primarily am carrying now my my bucking saw, because what I found out is that this right here is a much better tool when it comes to bucking logs, this kind of stuff. But this is what I can suggest you carry, and it's not the end-all thing. There are a lot of people who suggest other things, but when it comes to tools, for me personally, these are the tools that I could recommend. And like I said, you can do everything from all the work you need to do to any kind of projects you want to work on, other projects, and maybe even to repair something. It's all in there. So this is my recommendation. Anyway, so listen. If you have any questions, please leave comment down below, this kind of stuff. And I'm always looking for newer items, newer tools, something that's out there. People are always asking, when it comes to, what should I start off with knives, this kind of stuff. And I recommend always, like I said, depends on your budget and how much you want to get into bushcrafting. It took a long line of knives before I got to this one right here, and the reasons why I have it and I still use it. So, but this fixed blade is the first item on the list. Okay, now, can you get away with other things? Sure you can, and I highly recommend you try. But besides all this right here, it's what you have in your knowledge that you have, what you carry with you in your brain. That's what's the most important thing. It's not just having these tools, but knowing how to use them correctly, how to keep them in good order, and yeah, what you want to do with them. Anyway, listen, I want to thank you for coming by and watching our video, and I ask you please like, share, subscribe, and leave comments. And I look forward to seeing you in our next video. And I hope you all have a fantastic day. And thanks again. Goodbye.